Hi everyone, my name's Adam and I'm here to talk you through a checklist of what enforcing authorities like the HSE or EHO will look for when inspecting your business. Generally speaking, there are two reasons an enforcing authority will visit your business, either for an ad hoc inspection or after an incident. Often, the latter can be worse because they will look, in detail, at everything and everyone surrounding the incident. This brings breaches to light that might not have actually been directly linked to the offending incident. So let's take a look at what an enforcing authority will be looking for when they do enter your business. First and foremost, they'll check whether you have a health and safety policy in place. Your policy must be up to date, well communicated, followed, and under frequent review. They'll check that you have a health and safety at work poster displayed within your business. You're legally required to either display a health and safety executive approved poster in your premises or issue leaflet versions to mobile employees. If you head over to their site, they have various versions for you to choose from. They'll want to see you have tangible evidence that you're monitoring your business's health and safety activity and controls. If you're a citation client, your latest site visit report will satisfy this requirement. They'll look to see that you've got relevant insurance cover and that it is in date, so make sure you're always on top of when your insurance is due to expire. Almost all businesses will need employer's liability insurance, and depending on what type of business you have, you may need additional types too. Where applicable, they'll check that you have safe traffic management processes in place. If practically possible, you should avoid reversing and schedule vehicle movements, like deliveries for example, to avoid hazards with moving vehicles, pedestrians, and the emergency services getting access. They'll scout out the lighting within your business. Poor lighting can cause further risk and result in negative health symptoms like eye strain, migraines, headaches, and slips, trips, and falls, to name just a few. Poor lighting has also been linked to sick building syndrome, which can cause employees to suffer from things like headaches, lethargy, irritability, and poor concentration. They'll check that all your employees are up to date with their training. The frequency training needs to be refreshed will depend on a number of factors, like the type of training, internal incidents and processes, and equipment changes. If you have employees who are required to work at height, they'll look at things like, are adequate checks in place? Do you have measures in place to prevent incidents? And are employees who work at height competent to do so? If you have health and safety risks at work that can be reduced or eliminated with the use of personal protective equipment, they'll check you're adhering to your policy. This could be anything from helmets and gloves to high-vis clothing and safety harnesses. They'll also check your toilets and washing facilities to make sure they cater for everyone's welfare needs. You must provide a sufficient number of toilets for the number of people working at your site. You can see the desired ratios on screen now. If possible, separate facilities for men and women, a supply of toilet paper, a way for women to dispose of sanitary dressing, and a means for employees to dry their hands, among others. Interestingly, if necessary, the HSE requires your sinks to be large enough for employees to fit their forearm into. You have a legal responsibility to ensure your employees aren't suffering from stress at work, and enforcing authorities will check that you're fulfilling this. To assess their stress, they'll ask your employees questions like, are you clear what's expected of you at work? Can you decide when to take a break? Do you have unachievable deadlines? And are you given supportive feedback on the work you do? To name just a few. They'll want to see that you're monitoring your employees' health adequately. Health surveillances are an important part of early detection and prevention, and for businesses where employees are subject to things like noise, vibration, and hazardous substances, health checks may be a legal requirement. It's estimated that 17,000 people in the UK suffer from deafness, ringing in the ears, or some other form of ear condition that stems from excessive noise at work. It's a legal requirement to prevent or reduce any health risks caused by excessive noise, and enforcing authorities will check you're doing this by looking at things like, do you provide hearing protection? Do you keep within the legal noise limits? And do you assess the risks that noise poses? They'll look to see if you have measures in place that allow you to see who's on your site at any given time, like a signing in book, for example. This will be particularly important for businesses in the care, nursery, and education industries. If you've contractors working on your site, enforcing authorities will look to see that you're managing them and the effect their work could have on others sufficiently. This includes making contractors aware of any risks related to the job that they're doing, providing them with training, supervising their work if necessary, and consulting your workforce. They'll inspect your business's fire safety by checking you have an up-to-date fire risk assessment in place and that things like your fire extinguisher, lighting and alarms are well maintained and regularly serviced. Should the worst happen and a fire breaks out on your site, they'll check that the emergency services can get access to the building and a supply of water. If you have hashed areas, they'll look to make sure that no one's parking in them and obstructing access. If you provide equipment for use at work, under the Provisions and Use of Work Equipment Regulations 1998, they'll check that any equipment you supply is suitable, maintained and inspected. They'll also check that any risks that arise from using said equipment are eliminated or controlled. Another area they'll look at is your control of substances hazardous to health, otherwise known as COSH. If any of your employees are exposed to hazardous substances, they'll be looking to see that you've implemented all measures to prevent or reduce exposure, and that you have an up-to-date risk assessment in place. They'll also check that you're controlling any risks to safety from fire, explosions, and substances corrosive to metals. This falls under the Dangerous Substances and Explosives Atmospheres Regulations. Another area they'll look at is your communication. Whether it be via email, training, or briefings, it's a legal requirement to inform your employees of health and safety issues that affect them. Conversely, they'll also look at how employees in turn raise issues with management and how these issues are dealt with. Remember, these are just a few of the areas that enforcing authorities will inspect. As well as more of the generic checks, the industry you're in will also affect what's legally required of you. For an in-depth look at what's required of your business, get in touch with our health and safety experts on 0345 844 1111. Thanks for listening.